recently released their 10th version of the Redmi Note series. Now the numbers have been seen and have impressed almost anybody by not only how much these phones pack, but also how they still manage to be so cheap to fit the budget segment. So I decided to put it against a day's test after having been using it for a week. At 8:30 in the morning, I set out for the Karnala Fort. Now reaching the fort requires a climb of a little more than 2 kilometers. It starts with a bird sanctuary right at the bottom. Initial camera results made it clear that the new sensor is packed with a lot more detail than we have experienced in any Redmi Note series before. The processor does require a second to lock focus for a perfect shot, but when it does, almost every picture is a great one. The heat was now increasing as the temperature had passed 30 degrees and I started to climb towards the Karnala Fort. I wanted to test the camera a bit more, but after about half an hour, the phone had heated so much that I had to put it in for a while. By the time I reached, the phone got some time to recover back. Finally, it was time to truly test the cameras in these daylight conditions, and the results can be seen next. Right after the first heating issue though, I noticed the second issue, where, for some reason, the camera UI was stuttering and lagging behind in processing the 4K video, even though I re-recorded it at 30 frames per second just to ease it out for the phone. The pictures taken through either modes have great picture quality. However, color tones are pretty uneven throughout them. Details stay consistent even with 10 times zoom and there is no loss in picture quality. Here's a comparison of 4K and 1080p at 60 frames per second. The super steady video does look better but doesn't really remove the weird shifting effect, so not super steady though, just near steady.
Definitely wanted to try out the dual video mode, and clearly the leaves and the trees, they look much greener as you can see in the background, and much lighter or faded away in the selfie camera. As you can see, when I turned around, it's just flat.
It's also got a very smooth zoom slider for recording videos, which prevents any sudden changes in the focal length. The video quality stays consistent too. Macro shots do have an overall improvement over the previous generation ones, which seemed more like a gimmick. Finally, I gave the clone mode a humiliating trial as there was nobody else along. Moving on. The Redmi Note 10 Pro Max definitely needed a rest and it was gonna cross 40 degrees at my location by then, so I decided to set back after my initial results. The front camera also captures really good detail and manages to blur out the background between my curly hair, almost like it's got a depth sensor embedded alongside. After heading home, I recorded a few settings which are the highlight of the phone for a while, and used a bit of social media as I had also transferred my WhatsApp and other accounts to the Redmi Note 10 Pro Max. The 120Hz display just crushes it and performs lag-free in all situations. The display does not have any support for adaptive refresh rate though, so battery consumption stays higher even if the content being viewed does not require 120Hz. The third issue I encountered was while transferring media to a cloud, when, even while standing directly in front of my Wi-Fi router, the antennas of the phone seem to not use much of the network when the phone is not aligned facing the ground. I don't really know how people in China use their phones, but in India I've seen plenty of people using their phones in all kinds of orientations basically. Hope they improve this situation, or else it really is a major con. And once again, I encountered the next issue right after. I already mentioned transferring WhatsApp to this Redmi Note 10, and when I did try to access the files under the file manager, the phone just froze every time. It showed 0 bytes as readable memory, but still took a whole 5 minutes for it to try deleting that folder. It never did happen though. Now, 7:30 PM. It was time to check out how well does the phone keep up in the dark, so we headed to test the night photo and video capabilities. First thing I tried was the super steady mode again, as it got over sharpened in the day and deserved a fair chance. And sure, it did perform much better now. 1080p footage suffers with extra glaring from the light sources under dark environments. 4K video looks great though. The motion tracking feature works very well too. I mean, I hadn't expected it to be so consistent at night, but clearly it can be. And also, it could be put for a lot more usages in many other conditions. Low light picture is just taken to the next level with this huge 108 megapixel sensor, which can capture so much light and use it to enhance the image while not taking huge amounts of time. The color is again inconsistent among the different outputs from the same sensor. Hope Xiaomi fixes it with an update. The quality and detail amassed in all outputs are great though, and the 108 megapixel image is fairly close to the night mode image in terms of detail. Portrait shots also gather lower light and seem to darken the subject while processing an image. This time, the 1080p video looks much better than the 4K video output, as it now has an advantage of using that extra bit of unfiltered noise that comes with lights. The clone video too seems a bit shabbily processed and had produced much better results at daytime comparatively. The last issue I faced was when I encountered the same shifting issue during a video call. This was totally unexpected, as I thought it was only because of the load caused by the 108 megapixel sensor, but somehow it creeps upon during the video calls as well, almost seeming like a whole layer is being painted on top of your face. So, the Redmi Note 10 Pro Max. Seeing how far this series has come, now with all of the options having really punchy AMOLED displays and great cameras, made me very ecstatic. But even when I used it for almost a week and on the day that I reviewed it, I couldn't help but think that the processor itself, which used to be a great compliment for the Note series, has been the only place where Redmi might have cut its corners. And that really has costed a significant amount. The user experience is great. Themes that are available not only change the wallpaper and icons, but even the WhatsApp colors, boot animation, and even boot ringtones of the phone, which makes every individual's experience very personal and unique. Finally, with the battery at close to 20% now, I put the phone to charge and it took a whole 1 hour and 35 minutes to top up about 80% battery, which is not the most impressive timing given its 33-watt charger. My final thoughts are that maybe the lower priced Redmi Note 10 Pro would be better optimized for working alongside the Snapdragon 732G chipset without giving it much load. I mean, their only major difference lies in the camera and super versus normal AMOLED screen. If Redmi does fix these issues, then it should be a great buy. Else, the lesser priced Redmi Note 10 Pro, even with its 64 megapixel camera, might be better optimized with the hardware that's available. For the same budget, the Realme 8 Pro should be a great competitor too. Do let me know if you would like to see a comparison of that phone with the Redmi down in the comment section below. That's all for this video. I hope you found this video useful and it will help you decide whether or not this is the right pick for you. I'd also love to share that this is actually my first review video, so thank you for being a part of it. And if you'd like to see more of them, then make sure you do subscribe to stay tuned. I'll see you guys the next time we space out.